Hi guys, welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carmen. Welcome. So we're going to find out in this video what are the negative characteristics of number 1 in numerology. And we're also going to find out what some of the positive characteristics are too. So we're talking about the good and the bad of number 1 in this video today. But before we do that, if you are excited to watch this video today, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to book a reading with me, I will leave the information to that below in the description box. So let's get into it. What is the dark side of number 1 in numerology? Let's find out. So I want you to imagine that each number is kind of on a spectrum. And on the very far end of the spectrum, there are the positive aspects and the positive sides of the number, and then on the other end of the spectrum are all the negative attributes of a number. So most people fall somewhere on this spectrum. Most people tend to fall kind of in the middle between the two ends of the spectrum, but you could fall anywhere on the spectrum. You could be closer to the positive side or you could be closer to the negative side. Also, each number in numerology is ruled by something in our solar system, and number 1 is ruled by the sun. So on the positive end of the spectrum for number 1, you have a person who is very individualistic and very independent. And these people know how to take care of themselves. They are very self-sufficient and self-reliable, and they know how to get things done on their own. And because of that, they tend to be really good leaders, and they know how to lead other people because they have a lot of confidence in themselves. They have this inner voice inside of them telling them the direction, telling them what is right, and they follow this inner voice inside of them. And because of that, they have a lot of confidence in themselves, and they have a lot of confidence in their abilities. And other people can see this confidence, and other people want to follow them. Other people want to follow their lead, because that confidence within them just oozes out of them, and people see that and they want to follow them. So because of that, they make really good leaders, and they're really good at taking the initiative and starting things. And they're very inventive, and they can be very original. They want to do something that is unique and individualistic to them and only them, something that only they have done and nobody else has ever done before, because they want to be the first person to do something. So often they are very original, and they can be very creative. So sometimes they will have a great idea for an invention or something that nobody else has ever done before, and they will actually take the initiative to create it because they like to take the initiative and they like to be the one to start things. And because they're so outgoing and because they're so bold, a lot of times they will take the steps to do this. They can be very bold, they can be very outgoing, they can be very spontaneous. So these are people that don't like to plan things out. They kind of like to just go wherever the wind takes them and to kind of just do whatever they're feeling. They usually don't have a plan, they just go for it. They just put themselves out there. And because of that, they can be very brave and they can be very courageous. There's a few more positive things that I wanted to say about the number 1 before we move on to the negative aspects of this number. This number really is very, very unique, and it's probably one of the most unique numbers. And people that have this number tend to be very original and bold, and they come up with these great ideas and they conceptualize them and they visualize these ideas in their mind, ideas that other people have never even thought of. And because they are such good leaders, they have the ability to bring these visualizations into the world, into the physical world that we live in. They are able to take these visualizations from their mind, and they're able to invent great inventions that nobody else has ever come up with before, and they're able to manifest these great ideas in their head. A really good example of this was Steve Jobs. He was a life path number 1, and he created Apple and had a huge contribution to technology with the creation of the iPhone and touchscreen technology. Another visionary who was a good example of this is Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla has contributed so much to our modern world and to the modern technology that we have. There's so many contributions that he made to our world. So as you can see, ones tend to be visionaries, and they are inventors, and they can invent things from the visions that they have in their mind. And so they have this mental capability of being a visionary in common with 5s and 7s. But the difference between the 1 and the 5 and the 7 is the 1 has the leadership abilities in order to make it happen and bring this into fruition. So because they're really good leaders, they can bring people together and they can get it done. And because of their leadership abilities, they can find ways to invent these ideas that they have in their head. Whereas 5s and 7s are also very mental, and they're visionaries as well, but they don't have that leadership ability that ones tend to have. Now, even if you've never invented something like Steve Jobs or Nikola Tesla, because these are very rare individuals, you probably still have a million unique and original ideas constantly running through your head. And you probably have really good leadership skills, and because of that, you probably have the ability to create something that is unique and original in your world that you belong to and that is unique to you. Comment below if you agree with this, or if there's something creative and unique that you're thinking about doing right now. And ones that are on the positive side make really good leaders, not just because they know how to tell people what to do, but because they are really good at listening to other people and bringing people together. So they have this ability to listen to everybody's side of the situation and to kind of take into consideration everybody's point of view, and then they make leadership decisions based on all of the information that they've gotten from everybody else. So you will typically see presidents with this number. George Washington, the very first president of the United States, was a life path number 1. And so that's one of the other reasons why they make really good leaders. And also, ones tend to be imitated often by other people, so this is very common. You will see this a lot with ones. They typically have followers, so they will start a new trend, they will start something new, and other people will see that and like it, and they will copy them and try to be like them. So that's very common with ones also. Also, these people tend to be very courageous, and they march to the beat of their own drum. So if they see something in society or some sort of like norm or tradition that needs to be broken and needs to be changed, they will be the first to do it. And they will break tradition if it's not something that is good. So a lot of people who were involved in the civil rights movement were life path number 1s. These were people that they said, hey, this is something that needs to change. And they were the first to do it. They got involved and they made it happen. So being the first to start a movement or to start to have ideas that are different than what we see in society, that implement some sort of change in society, is very, very common with them. Because they are often the initiators, so they are usually the first people to start something or to get involved in something. So now we're going to talk about the negative side of number 1, and I want to say beforehand that I'm not saying that all ones have these negative characteristics. Most people tend to have either a few of the negative characteristics and a few of the positive characteristics, or on some days they have the negative characteristics, and then on other days they have all of the positive characteristics. So definitely not saying that all you ones have these negative characteristics. This is a spectrum, so you can fall anywhere on the spectrum. So on the negative side and the negative end of the spectrum for number 1, you have arrogance, or a person who is very arrogant. So if that person is on the negative end of this number, they will be very arrogant with other people and kind of think that they're better than other people. They can be very egotistical and have a very huge inflated ego, where they kind of think that they are number 1, like they really think they are the best. Because they have so much confidence, they really think that they know more than everybody else and that they can do a better job than everybody else. So it's almost as if they have too much confidence to the point where they become, cocky or arrogant. And Also, on the negative end, you have somebody who is very self-centered, somebody who is only thinking about themselves all the time and not really thinking about other people, because themselves and their independence and their individualism is so important to them. They really only care about themselves, and they're very selfish. And you also have a person who can be very stubborn too. So because they think, and in their mind, they know that they can do it right and they can do it better than other people, they will not listen to other people's advice. And they can be very hard-headed and not willing to take other people's advice and not willing to listen to other people's points of view, which can make them very stubborn and not willing to be flexible and not willing to compromise and work with other people. The stubbornness and self-centeredness can even get to the point where they're not willing to accept help from other people. So they're so independent and they're so individualistic and so stubborn that even if they really, really need help from other people, they're not willing to reach out and receive that help from other people because they're so independent. And so if they're on the negative end of that number, they can be somebody who has a lot of difficulty working with other people because they want to do everything on their own. And so especially if they're put into groups where they have to do teamwork with people at work, that can be really challenging for them because they want to do everything by themselves and don't want to work with other people. Another negative aspect of the number 1 is avoidance. So because these people want to be number 1 and want to be on the top and want to be the boss, sometimes if they are on the negative end of the number and have too much of that quality, they will avoid any situation where they feel like somebody else could dominate over them or somebody else could take the position of being the leader or being number 1. And this can cause a lot of problems for these people at work, especially if they have somebody working over them. So if they have a supervisor or if they have a boss who's kind of working over them, then this can be a real problem for them because they will feel like they are being dominated and they will feel like they are being told what to do, and they will not like that. So this can cause a lot of problems at work for somebody who's on the negative end of the number 1. Because if their boss is telling them what to do, and in most cases, in most situations, that's what happens, right? Your boss tells you what to do, and most people have a boss. So, that can cause a lot of problems for them. They'll feel like they're being dominated by someone. Even if this boss is just trying to do their job, they won't see it that way. They'll see it as that this boss is trying to dominate over them. So, and a lot of times this can cause a lot of problems at work. So some of these people can have really big problems with authoritative figures. For these people, the best solution is to either become the boss or to become your own boss. So become your own boss, work for yourself, start your own business and just work for yourself and not have to work under anybody else. That would be the best solution for them. Another problem with the number 1, if you're on the negative end of the number, is the tendency to be over-domineering. So, these people can be very dominating of other people, kind of abuse this leadership position that they often have. And they can be very dictatorial to people and really bossy and telling other people what to do because, in their mind, they think they know how to do everything better than everybody else. So if they're on the negative end of the number, they can be domineering and very dictatorial to other people. Ones on the negative side of the number can also be very rebellious, and they can be rebels. So they do not like to stick to tradition, which can be a good thing sometimes, but in some situations, it can get to the point where their rebellion can end up hurting other people. So you can see the rebellion and the rebelliousness is either a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It just depends on the way you interpret it. But they can be rebels because they are trailblazers, and they, like I said, they want to do things that are completely unique and individualistic to them. So often they will break tradition, and this can be challenging for them if they come from a very traditional family and they are a number one. They will rebel and they will break tradition. And sometimes that can be good, and it can also be bad sometimes. So another negative aspect of the number one is the tendency to be very impatient. So like I said, these people are very spontaneous, and when they want to do something, they want to do it right away, and they don't want to wait. They will have a great idea and they want to get it done and they want to start it. And sometimes they can be very impatient with the process if things aren't happening as quickly as they would like to happen, and they can become very impatient with themselves, and they can become very impatient with other people if other people aren't moving as quickly as they would like them to move. So yeah, this can be a problem for them, learning to have more patience and understanding that, you know, sometimes you might have this great idea, but there's kind of like a process that goes with it. And so that can be hard for them sometimes to accept that. Because like I said, they have a good idea, they want to get it done like right away. They want to start it up, and they want other people to move quickly too. The last negative thing I wanted to point out about this number is that these people, like I said, they want to be the leader, they want to be the boss, they want to be the one in charge. So they are willing to take all the credit if something bad happens. Like if they're leading a group and something bad happens, they're willing to take all the credit. But also if something good happens, they also want all the credit for that as well. So it goes both ways. But all in all, this is an amazing, bold, creative, inventive, independent, amazing number. The world would not be able to survive without ones. We need ones. You know, we need people that are courageous and willing to put themselves on the line and put themselves, you know, in a leadership position so that, you know, everybody else can survive. So, you know, they're willing to risk it all and put themselves out there for other people. So we need ones, and this is just an amazing number. So if you are a number one, definitely be proud to be a number one, because you guys are amazing and we would not be able to survive without you. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the positives and negatives of number one. Do any of these characteristics resonate with you, the good or the bad? Can you identify with any of these characteristics? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you want to check out my services, I will leave the information to that below in the description box. I would love to have you subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today. I am sending you light and love. Take care.